While the bowl, from what you've heard, has obviously done a lot in the city, state, and region, we really haven't done a great job of communicating our value or the opportunity that the organization represents. Quite frankly, it just hasn't been in our DNA to beat our chest about the contributions that we make around the community. But for better or for worse, that's going to change starting now. The annual football game and calendar of events produces a $200 million economic impact on an annual basis. And this includes millions of tax dollars that benefit the citizens of this city and state. Additionally, the football game brings in 70,000 visitors every year, not just once every 8 or 10 years like other major events. And it means another 20 million people will be watching on television or on their phones or on their computer screens. And with that comes millions of dollars in free advertising that drives the tourism engine that support this city and state so well. Over the course of the past 90 years, the Sugar Bowl Committee has worked really hard to try to be a good corporate citizen. And there's examples everywhere. You see up here on the slide, when COVID hit, remote learning became a thing. We quickly found out that there were kids in the community that didn't have access to internet or hotspots. Thanks to the College Football Playoff Foundation, and I need to thank Britton Banowski, who's the executive director, who's here with us. Britton, we were able to step up and fill that need. Additionally, during COVID, we stepped up when hospitality workers were really hurting. The Sugar Bowl provided $500,000 to support out-of-work hospitality workers. We talked already about the tremendous commitment that the Sugar Bowl has made to teachers in this community. $4 million with another $1 million pledge that we made this spring, all to try and better educate the youth of this city. We've worked with NORD on and off over the years and have provided hundreds of thousands of dollars to support both programs and facilities with that organization. We mentioned Joe Brown Park. That's a $10 million rebuild of that facility that didn't happen until the Sugar Bowl brought Nike and the Drew Brees Foundation to the table in order to do something good out in New Orleans East. And we followed up behind that. We didn't just build a building. We provided programming for a decade out there, $100,000 a year for 10 years to make sure that the kids had opportunities in that facility. When Tad Gormley, after Katrina, we made some money at our game in Atlanta that year, brought it back and put it right back into the city, $800,000 to help repair and reestablish Tad Gormley Stadium because it gets used by so many different schools in our community. Sugar Bowl's generosity is not limited either to the city. When there were shootings on the campus at Virginia Tech, the Bowl stepped up and provided $250,000 to support mental health counseling on that campus. When there were tornadoes in Tuscaloosa, another $250,000 to help repair the University of Alabama there. Also, not listed here, but we talked earlier about the 2020 National Championship game that I know a lot of people in here remember fondly because of LSU's win. That event doesn't come to New Orleans without $6 million that the Sugar Bowl put of its own money to cover the expenses of that event. To this date, we're a decade into the college football playoff, and the Sugar Bowl is the only bowl in 10 years that's used its own money to support the national championship game. So why are we here today? We're trying to keep New Orleans sweet. Like the rest of the world, college athletics is changing rapidly, and that means the Sugar Bowl too. Next year, the college football playoff expands to a 12-team playoff, and costs to participate in that expanded version are expected to rise significantly. And this comes on the heels of business arrangements that we've been in for the past decade that have been upside-down business models. You ask, why would you ever enter an upside-down business model? Well, our choice was to lose the Southeastern Conference if we didn't take that deal and potentially not be a member of the college football playoff. So we tightened our belt and did so. Simply said, costs to compete at an elite level have never been higher. We live in the era of billion-dollar television agreements. We've got name, image, and likeness access for student athletes. Schools are jumping leagues. Who would have ever thought you'd see the day when USC and UCLA would jump to the Big Ten Conference, a historically Midwest conference? Additionally, the Pac-12 Conference, a 108-year-old institution, it's basically been blown up, decimated, and is down to just 2 teams. The Sugar Bowl is only 90 years old. Let that sink in for a minute. Next year, West Coast teams Stanford and Cal will be playing in the ACC. That's the Atlantic Coast Conference. Atlantic, that's right. And why is all this happening? Simply the pursuit of money. And when it comes to money, the Sugar Bowl's been fighting above its weight class for decades now. Add to that the fact that there's competition out there, very real competition, cities with larger populations and corporate bases, plus there are a lot of well-heeled newcomers that want to take our spot in the college football playoff. You've got cities like Nashville, Las Vegas, Houston, San Antonio, Orlando. In Nashville, they're getting ready to build a new stadium, and they're almost done raising $75 million from the private business community to support their efforts to join the CFP or to go after Super Bowls or to go after Final Fours. Las Vegas, also a brand new stadium, and they've got a bottomless jackpot of money out there to go with it. Houston and San Antonio have a major events fund that so far has proven that it can deliver more than we've been able to realize out of the major events fund here in Louisiana. There's been a lot of work there, and we think that we're going to make some headway in that area, but to date, they're a step ahead on us. So we've asked you here to let you know, plain and simple, that we're no longer able to go it alone. We're going to need your help going forward. And as we ask for that help, we ask you that you understand that we feel we're doing our part in the process. Last year, we hosted a kickoff game here in the Dome, LSU and Florida State. That event had a $120 million economic impact for the city and state. We're also in talks with LSU about a future game to start the season. Just last month, we did the Sugar Bowl Country Kickoff. That was an event that created an $80 million economic impact for the city and state, and we're already in talks with another major performer for a similar event next year. If you're interested, mark your calendars for August 31st of 2024 right here in the Superdome. And while it's been a while, it's not unprecedented for the Sugar Bowl to reach out to the business community for assistance. As a matter of fact, the volunteers of this organization, who actually, yes, pay for their tickets and have required service hours, have been reaching out to the business community from the very beginning in order to get the Sugar Bowl off the ground and turn a concept into reality. A small group of Sugar Bowlers, solicited help from the business community, and you've seen here today what the organization has become. Also, at various times in the history of the organization, the membership of the Bowl stepped up and sold bonds that helped finance expansions to Old Tulane Stadium. And thanks to those expansions, New Orleans was able to land the New Orleans Saints when the NFL decided that they were going to expand all those years ago. Yes, you could draw a straight line between the efforts of the Sugar Bowl Committee and the fact that the New Orleans Saints are here today. Some of you out there have already stepped up, and for that, we're grateful. The College Football Playoff Foundation has been referenced already. They've been a tremendous help. They've helped with funding as well as strategic planning. It's helped us make a real difference for the teachers in our community. Allstate has been our partner and title sponsor since 2007. Not a better sponsor in the business. Locally, we've got some great tourism partners. You heard from the Lieutenant Governor earlier. He's been involved with our kickoff game, the music event last month, been involved with the Sugar Bowl for 3 years. I'm proud to say Walt Leger and the people at New Orleans and Company have stepped up as well. That's a new partnership that began last month with the music event, and we've just signed an agreement for multi-years into the future for them to support the football game as well. Also, we'll backtrack 10 years. When we signed that upside-down business model to continue and be a part of the playoff, the only entity in this city that stepped up to help us at that time was the Superdome. And so we're grateful to the management, ASM, and the people that stepped up there and realized what the Sugar Bowl brings to the community. What those partners understand is that the Sugar Bowl delivers millions of dollars to area businesses on an annual basis. And the annual needs to be re-emphasized here again. The impact and the visibility come every year unless we're no longer able to compete because of finances. A handful of local sponsors out there have also stepped up to help, and we're grateful for your participation and support over the years, but quite frankly, we need to do better. So why should you care about all this? From our vantage point, we feel like it's pretty simple. $200 million economic impact on an annual basis. Millions of dollars in direct tax revenue every year. Millions of dollars in annual national publicity that bolsters the tourism industry, which is the engine that drives this city and state. And $1 million in annual community programming benefiting teachers and others. Do we really want to risk seeing all that go away because we're not competing financially? So today we're in the uncomfortable but the real position of asking for your help. And it's not like we're here hat in hand. The Sugar Bowl has proven over decades that it can deliver in big ways for you and your companies with programming that can meet your needs, whether they're local, regional, or national. And we've got some very specific ways that you can plug in. The next slide shows you here. We've started a new website that goes active today. It's supportthesugarbowl.com. Ticket sales are going to be paramount going forward. Because of the additional rounds of the expanded college football playoff, we anticipate that we're going to have a lot more tickets to sell, potentially thousands. And it's important that we fill the stadium every year because there are forces at play out there that would like to see the entire playoff played on campus, which would be devastating for all of us here. So we're going to have tickets for games that matter on an annual basis, and you can help us out there. We've got sponsorship packages to promote your brands and drive sales. We're big on, under-promising and over-delivering too, and sponsorship is part of the revenue equation for any bowl organization. And again, we quite frankly need to do better there. If cause giving is your thing, we have that too. As you've heard, we're big on supporting teachers in the community. You can help us recruit, recognize, and retain the very best that are having an impact on the children that represent the future of this city. We've also provided hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships. You can help us there. We've, through our annual association with the National Football Foundation, we do scholarships for boys in the spring each year, and then our Women in Sport platform at our New Orleans Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremony is a summer event where you can help us out as well. Whatever suits you, we're here to help. The bottom line is we need your help if we're going to continue as a member of the expanded playoff, and if we're going to be able to continue to do the good things that this organization has been doing for 90 years now. Certainly all of us at the Sugar Bowl are fighting to continue in that vein. So in closing, we're humbly asking that you consider joining us as we attempt to keep New Orleans sweet. We think we have a lot to offer, and no doubt there's certainly a lot at stake.